for the sake of peace and saving the polity or saving democracy or whatnot, we also have to look at the substance and all of that. So, substance versus technicalities. What are your thoughts?
Well, there have been a lot of calls,
Mm.
and I think it's not just now.
Mm.
Even in the past, there have been situations where people question, deciding election matters on technicalities, not
Mm-hmm.
on the substance of the case.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, there's a lot of human interest when it comes to election matters about the mandate of the people. So if election cases are just decided on technicalities, then you want to probably question whether justice has probably been served. So there are situations where people have said, look, don't just decide election matters
Mm.
on technicalities, even though we know that sometimes technicalities come into play
Mm-hmm.
when decisions are made.
Mm.
For example, if you are expected to file your petition within 21 days and you file it on the 22nd day, probably the petition may not fly. And that's a technicality, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, but again, I've always mentioned on the show, Sandra, that court cases are decided on 4 levels.
Mm.
The first one is documentary evidence. You need to be able to back your prayers with enough evidence. The second one is technicality. Sometimes you just have to follow the process, technical processes of filing your petitions and all of that. The second one is logic, how you are able to logically defend your case or put up your case.
Mm.
And then, of course, the last one, which again is always very important, is national interest.
Mm.
Sometimes, the cases are decided on the best interest of the country. What is best for the country can also, be a deciding factor, the way judges decide cases. So all of that will come to play when the election tribunal starts sitting.
All right, thank you very much. For add more details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. On the front page of the Guardian, we also have here, Fintiri laughs last. Reckless wreck faces prosecution. That's good one, Guardian. Good one.
I said it.
Play on words. All right. What we have is that, of course, at exactly 5:48 p.m. yesterday, the governor of Adamawa State, Amadu Fintiri, heaved a sigh of relief when INEC declared him winner of the Adamawa governorship election, which has been a long-drawn battle since March 18 that took a dramatic turn on Sunday, April 16th. Yesterday in the Situation Room, we had the SSA to Fintiri on public communications. And, he brought to light certain things that, may not have been, as open to the general public, especially what's happening inside in Adamawa State. And, it's not just about the declaration or the misdeclaration or declaration of the wreck or the former wreck now. It's not just that. There's been a lot of build-up, okay, to that particular situation. Apparently, it's all the way from March 18 with the very infamous local government, Fufore local government, starting from there, and the involvement of the AGF, the involvement of so many top figures at the federal level. But now all uncertainties and drama seems to have been quelled with the announcement of Amadu Fintiri to continue on in his government, with he pulled in a total of 430,861 votes to defeat his fiercest challenger, Senator Aishatu Dahiru, popularly known as Binani, who got 390,788 votes. Now, as it is now, INEC has also called on the IGP, that's the Inspector General of Police, for prosecution of Yunusa Ari. Yes, Yunusa Ari, the embattled wreck of or the former wreck of Adamawa State. However, we're going to be putting it. Also, from this story, we have here the acceptance speech of Fintiri, who commended INEC, journalists, international communities, civil society organizations for standing tall and strong to defend democracy. He thanked his supporters. And also we have Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke also felicitated with his Adamawa counterpart Fintiri. We also have here the court has ignored Binani's motion on election tussle. We had that conversation yesterday that Binani was or attempted. Let me put it that way. Attempted to challenge the nullification of the announcement of her being the winner on Sunday, which generated the whole controversy and drama in the first place. We also have the fact that the IGP has replaced the Commissioner of Police. The IGP has replaced the Commissioner of Police on election duty in Adamawa State over alleged unprofessionalism. Fuad, I'm sure you remember the Commissioner of Police was seated with the REC when all of that, shenanigans was going on on Sunday. Yes, so
on Sunday,
the Commissioner of Police has also been
removed from the state, as in replaced.
Removed and replaced.
Or they are replaced or redeployed.
Or redeployed or removed or replaced. However, so there's someone new that has been brought in now. But all in all, just as you mentioned earlier, yes, things may seem like okay. I think we're at the end of the tunnel now. But then, do we foresee any more drama aside from the prosecution or the proposed prosecution of the REC? Do we foresee any sort of political storm brewing in Adamawa State, or has this all been quenched?
Whatever storm we're going to see now would be at the courts.
Okay.
Because if an announcement has been made now, a winner has been properly declared. The initial declaration was an illegality, complete embarrassment. Because again, like I said yesterday, I'm shocked that Aisha Binani was trying to use a legal means to justify an illegality. So but
that was embarrassing. I think
I thought that she was at least going to be a bit exemplary in her actions. To say no. As much as I want to be governor, I wouldn't support any form of political shenanigans and misbehavior. But again, it is what it is. The proper thing has been done by INEC. A winner has been announced. So whatever the satisfactions remain, should go to the courts for hearing and clarification. So, but most importantly, I think I have to emphasize again that I can't wait to direct in court, standing trial. It's very important.
Very, very, very important. Probably to serve as a deterrent to others. We all need to take cheap pills. 10 whole local governments were still being awaited for collation when that announcement was made. And aside from that, it wasn't even his place to make that announcement. Well, as much as a female governor would have been a milestone that we're all yearning for, but then we can't support such travesty,
recklessness.
Exactly. As Fuad put it on Sunday,
political travesty.
All right, more details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on now, we also have here court voids Oluomo's parks and garages, revalidates RTEAN, Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria. This is interesting, but then let's see what we have. Justice Maureen Esoe of the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, sitting in Lagos, yesterday voided Lagos State Parks and Garages and reinstated operations of RTAN in the state. The judge also nullified the state government's appointment of a caretaker committee, held that the act of Lagos State government in suspending the national union's operations in the state and setting up a caretaker committee is illegal and against the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended. So, Fuad,
yes.
Yam Pepe scatter.
Yes, sir. Again, we're a country governed by law, and so the dissolution of the union by the Lagos State government has been challenged at the industrial court by the RTAN. And here is the judgment that we have now. I'm sure there are grounds for appeal. Most likely, we may be seeing a situation where this ruling will be appealed. But it is what it is, a judgment. And I've talked about the fact that, look, if it's a union, they have a right to form their union and run their affairs without the state government interfering or dissolving it. But it's all about
it's a union registered under the Trade Unions Act. There's a lot.
For you to just dissolve them like that and then, of course, replace them. But there are going to be questions on who owns the park actually.
Mm.
Is it the Lagos state government or the union? You know, because it's about the control of the park, not about unionism. Now, I don't want to be a lawyer, so I don't begin to argue these things. But what I'm saying is that there are two issues here. There are freedom of association as a union on one part. The other part is that who owns the park now?
Mm. Well, the
Lagos
council,
State,
the council for the state government, Adebayo Haron, contended that the government did not try to dissolve the national body's operation in the state. The government just sought to maintain law and order when violence ensued between the unions. But then I think we cannot, well, I don't know, I think we cannot remember that the government dissolved RTAN, suspended its operations, and took over the garages. But just as Fuad has mentioned now, I think the bone of contention here now is who operates or who is in charge of operations of the garages. I think
who owns it
to start. Well, in her judgment, Justice Maureen Esowe held that the act of the Lagos state government in suspending the national union's operations in the state is illegal and against the provisions of Section 4, 1, 2, and 3, and Section 5, 1, and 3. Read along with item 34 on the exclusive legislative list. And she held that the government and the police should have intervened by arresting and prosecuting those behind the fracas and not to inquire into the dispute. The court also restrained the state government from further interfering with the operations of the union's activities. And now, the court has also dismissed the defendant's preliminary objections to the suit, ordered the police to refrain from intimidating the union's officers, and also to remove all barricades imposed around their secretariat and grant them unfettered access to their offices. But then the question still remains, who is in charge of the garages in Lagos now? So let's say, let us say now, by from interpretation, I hope that we'll have a lawyer call in, sometime later or not to dish things out properly. But then looking at this now, it means that RTAN operations has been restated now, and while the Lagos parks and garages have been voided.
Yeah, the composition of the parks and garages
no longer exists, according to the court.
Unless an appeal is filed against this particular ruling.
As at this particular conviction now, as at this
particular this one that we are talking now,
yes,
as
it is now,
by that ruling,
Lagos State parks and garages does not exist.
Becomes null and void. Yeah,
null and void. So RTAN is back in the garages now.
Yeah, that's the situation of things. And like I just mentioned, there were questions really about ownership of those garages, the management of the garages. Because the unions, like I said, they have a right to association and determine how they want to run their unions. Which also, one of the things that comes to play is the collection of dues, union dues and all of that. But when it comes to levies and charges and all of those kinds of things, that's also the reason why you're having all of this confusion. But what I think that the Lagos state government needs to sit back and also check itself whether their interference was about the public good or about some other interests that are hidden in taking that decision. A whole lot of things, because again, when you remove some people and then within the same set you create something and then put some people in charge, it raises question about the sincerity of purpose in taking that decision in the first place.
But
we'll see whether there's going to be an appeal on this particular one.
All right. More details on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. This is Trends in the Papers. We're looking through trending stories on the front pages of our dailies. You can also watch the program live on our YouTube and Facebook channels at Mainland 98.3 FM. Now we're moving on to the Punch newspaper, and the major headline there says Adamawa government. Fintiri floors Binani. INEC takes Rex case to Buhari. And then we have riders to that. Fintiri polls 430,861 votes to defeat APC candidate and 13 others. PDP supporters jubilate. I didn't pay 2 billion naira for declaration, says Binani as court rejects request to stop results. 2 billion. That's interesting. INEC asked SGF, that's Secretary to the Government of the Federation, to report wreck to Buhari. IGP orders Gombe Commissioner of Police to oversee Adamawa post-poll security. We've already had this conversation, but then I'm just taking one particular rider out, which is INEC asked the SGF, Boss Mustafa, to report the wreck to Buhari, who happens to be what's the word now? Is it the appointer or the selector of of wrecks in the country, or or the chooser?
You know the thing about removing regs. It's not just about Buhari now. You can't just remove him because when they are nominated, they still have to go through approval of the National Assembly. So the president cannot just sit and remove. But what we are saying is that there are grounds for prosecution because whatever he has done should fall under electoral offenses. For him to have done what is not functionally permitted to do, there are grounds for him to be prosecuted on electoral offenses. That's what we are saying. So we are not even talking about his removal. His removal would naturally happen when he begins to stand trial and is convicted.
Well,
so the first thing is not even his removal from. It's about
the prosecution.
If there are grounds for prosecution, it should begin to face the law now. It should appear in court to begin to answer questions.
Well, INEC has requested the Secretary to the Government of the Federation to draw the attention of the appointing authority to the unwholesome behavior of the REC for further actions. Now, under the Constitution, the appointing authority refers to the President, who is empowered to appoint INEC commissioners as provided by Section 1541 of the 1999 Constitution. The section provides that except in the case of ex-official members or where other provisions are made in this Constitution, the chairman and members of any of the bodies so established shall, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, be appointed by the President, and the appointment shall be subject to the confirmation by the Senate. To remove a REC, the President can only act on an address by a 2/3 majority of the Senate in accordance with Section 6(3) of the Electoral Act 2022. That's just to put things into perspective. But just as Fuhad has said, the IGP has also, moved forward to request for the prosecution of the REC in person of Unisa Ari. We'll see how things will turn out. I don't think this is the end of it for the embattled REC of Adamawa State. Moving on, more details of that on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Now we also have here things fall apart. Things fall apart in Warri, and that story is on page 3. As it is now, the Olu of Warri, His Majesty Ogame Atuwatse III, appears to have crossed the Rubicon in his long-drawn disagreement with the Ologbosere of Warri Kingdom, when on Sunday, April 16th, he installed Chief Oma Enyoma as the new holder of the highest Ishekiri traditional title. This is a lot. This is a lot to take in. But then the story is on page 3. What it is that Ologbosere is challenging the process that led to the emergence of Ogame, so that's the Olu of Warri, insisting that there were some violations. Let me just put that in, summarize that there were some violations in the process that brought about the current Olu of Warri, who happens to be His Majesty Ogame Atuwatse. So as the controversy is going on, so there are 2 crowns of the Asian Kingdom were allegedly stolen from the palace. A police investigation indicted Emami and other individuals, including 2 princes who have been declared wanted. The court case and the missing ground notwithstanding, the Olu of Warri, upon ascending the throne, has been carrying out his duties. So palace sources, however, hinted that there have been interventions from several quarters to settle the dispute among the parties and ensure that there's unity among natives of the Ishekiri nation. Yes, but then even while they were trying to resolve all of these issues, the Olu of Wari now recently gave the highest Ishekiri traditional title to Chief Oma. So that one has now, the development has now, caused another stir. So it's a lot of things happening right now in.
There are legal grounds to resolve traditional issues like this. The courts have, I think customary courts have a way.
Yeah, and there was also, a reconciliatory meeting where, the governor of Delta State, the immediate past governor, because that's Uduagon, Dr. Emmanuel Uduagon, was present, and also we had, some notable, Christian religious leaders, let me put it that way, were also present trying to resolve, the issues on ground. But just as you said, customary courts and all should also be.
Another thing, Sandra, is that our politicians, they started also putting their hands into traditional matters. We started seeing all of these problems. Ordinarily these things are supposed to be autopilot. You're supposed to follow traditional guidelines on how to, appoint or see the emergence of traditional rulers. But you have situations where politicians play politics is everything. And so they also, tampered with our financial institutions to the point where it has now become so confusing. Look at Ibadan. I just quickly want to talk about Ibadan. Ordinarily, they will tell you that the best in terms of emergence of the traditional ruler in Ibadan. I'm trying to look for the title now.
Alafin.
No, that's Alafin. I'm talking of Ibadan. The Olubadan of Ibadan.
Olubadan, okay,
Olubadan,
yes.
Olubadan. It's hierarchical. The next person, even while you are the Olubadan, the next in line is clear. There are no issues. But during the Ajimobi era, although God's rest is so, you tampered with the whole thing and almost scattered it until the new government came and now, resolved all of the old issues. So when you see politicians go into things that they are not supposed to go into, this is what yes. But again, the court would eventually find a way to resolve all of these issues.
All right. Well, more details on page 3 has all of the details, the entire page. There you can get the details on page 3 of the Punch newspaper. Let's keep moving now very quickly. They have above the masthead of the Punch newspaper, the striking workers have begun the striking workers have said that they will begin airport shutdown next week. All right. Remember that this was just a 2-day warning strike. So there's still more to come from that quarters if it's not resolved promptly. So striking aviation workers who disrupted operations in the country's airports on Tuesday have threatened to totally shut down the airspace next Wednesday if the government fails to grant their request. Yes. So let's not forget what exactly the bone of contention is, which is there happened to be a COS that was signed some 7 to 8 years ago that has not been, recognized or implemented or respected by the federal government, and also the welfare of the workers, of the aviation workers, and also the proposed demolition of offices and agencies, for building of a new airport by the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika. So as we have all of that put into place, they are stated in their notice of strike, they said they have stated their demands, and if their demands are not met, then an indefinite strike will be inevitable. Why do we have to wait for strike actions before, we get the attention of relevant authorities as regards, cogent issues like this?
Sandra, all of the demands of this union, I don't think can be met by the outgoing government. I doubt it, really. There are issues of minimum wage, salaries, allowances, and all of that. Especially those ones. I doubt that this government will do anything about that particular issue. But the issue of the offices, demolition of offices, trying to construct an airport city and all of those things, I think we just have to appeal to the president to rein the Minister of Aviation in, Hadi Sirika, who has been doing a lot of interesting things in recent times, to back down. I think he needs to just back down and begin to think of how to hand over to who eventually is appointed as a new Minister of Aviation. I think by now he should be thinking of how he's going to leave that office. He's done his part, his piece, and he should leave all other issues to the new Minister of Aviation. That's the right thing to begin to do now. I think for now, what he should be doing is to begin to share information with the permanent secretary of that ministry, begin to create handover notes so that we can have a proper transition also at that level of the Ministry of Aviation. So, because again, there's too much coming up from that quarter in this last minute, and you keep wondering, well, to what end? What are we trying to achieve? Really trying to do all of these things in less than 30 to 40 days of handover. Also, but again, I think the union too would probably just have to appeal to them. The reality is all of their demands cannot be met. This last minute of this government, I doubt it. But again, the Minister of Aviation also can help by backing down and maintaining status quo on all of these other issues too. So the new government has a lot of things to deal with. One of them is this particular issue.
All right. Thank you very much, Fuad. I mean, by May 29, we should be having a new administration in place. So I'm still trying to understand what exactly the Ministry of Aviation, is up to. Let me put it that way. When everyone would have thought that all ministries are supposed to be, carrying out handovers, clearing their desk, putting their books together, and transition and all of that. But just as Father said, we appeal to both parties to take chill pills and let's see how things will turn out. Because what the unions are saying, what the unions are saying now is that they are planning for a full shutdown, meaning that all airport operations, all aviation operations, everything would be on total shutdown. Although they said they're assessing the situation, or they're assessing the situation, and they'll look at it carefully. They'll see the response from the government, and if need be, they'll go for full strike. They will activate it. But then everything now all boils down to the body language and response from the federal government. More details on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. We also have here, Shell removes 460 illegal connections on Trans-Niger pipeline.
People are tapping things.
460 of what? 460
I'm sure those are the ones discovered.
There's still more.
Yes, sir. Go on, go.
That's serious.
How did they tap those things without pressure technology discovering? I'm sure there are technologies to discover that, when we think that technology people should be,
people are bypassing
that that something is happening to those pipelines. Because again,
just as I said, the little drop, you won't notice when 1 naira leaves your account. You won't notice when 2 naira leaves your account. But it is when
that's if you have too much money. Maybe that's what's happening. You have too much oil to waste, so we don't even know when they're tapping it.
That's the problem. But then let's see what we have in the report. The report is saying that Shell, the chairman of Shell companies in Nigeria, Osage Okumbo, revealed that the international oil company discovered and removed 460 illegal connections on its Trans-Niger pipeline before the facility could be restored after it was shut down for 1 year. So they used that pipeline to evacuate crude from the oil fields in Rivers and parts of Bayelsa to the Bonny crude export terminal, as other IOCs lamented the grave impact of oil theft on their operations. Let's not forget that Okubo had revealed that the Trans-Niger pipeline was shut for 1 year due to massive crude oil theft on the pipeline, a development that has also devastated the supply of gas to Nigeria liquefied NLNG during the period. So what we have now is that during the 1 year that it was shut down, that was when they discovered all of the the loops. 400. Yes, 460. Lord have mercy. That's just one oil company. I wonder what some others too would be saying. Okubo Osibajo, that's the vice president, several other executives of international and indigenous oil and gas companies actually spoke at the ongoing 6th Nigeria International Energy Summit. But then, aside from, because the truth is The truth is the fact that, if they had not shut down for 1 year and tried to look what exactly, where are we losing? Yes, where are we losing all of this, oil to? If they had not done that, they wouldn't have discovered this 460. So what exactly, we've been talking about oil theft, and what it is costing the nation. What exactly are the recommendations, as regards what can be done to oil theft? Let's not bring the Tompolo arrangement.
No. When Tompolo arrangement is one of it, at least proper security.
Yes, that's already
local intelligence is also important, okay. Sandra. There's a reason why Tompolo is giving that contract. These are the guys on ground. They are the locals. They know the route. They know it's just like you taking me to Niger Delta now to go and detect these things. I probably get there and get confused. I've lived all my life in the southwest. I probably have never even seen proper oil pipelines before. So these guys know the creek. They know the terrain. They are probably even know some of these culprits doing these things. You understand? So we must not say, the social arrangement is not. I think to a great extent there's a reason why he was given that job. The other one, Sandra, is why are we not deploying technology, surveillance, proper surveillance, and all of that? Because if you've seen the way these things are tapped, it's not something that can just happen overnight. It probably takes some days and all of that for those things to happen. I watched a presentation of Aramco, that's the NNPCL version of Saudi Arabia, and there was a display of how they monitor all their oil pipelines in a room. There's a control room where if there's a little drop in pressure, there's a signal that comes that something has happened. There's a breach in the pipeline. So it's properly monitored using technology. So you ask yourself, why can't? Because again, the human elements will always create room for these things. The more we're able to deploy technology, I think the better, we better manage, these things. Another one, apart from passing on pipelines, Sandra, what of diversion? Where crudes are loaded and then they're diverted, badges are missing. That's also another issue. Missing from the IC, they don't see them again. So it's a whole lot of problem when it comes to theft of crude oil in Nigeria. Like the last report that about 50% of our crude is not accounted for is stolen. And this is what we are seeing from this report.
460.
Illegal connection.
Okay. Well, more details on page 27 of the Punch newspaper. And finally, from the Punch, we have here National Assembly leadership. APC Working Committee awaits Tinubu and Adamu's meeting, and that is on page 8. So the National Working Committee of the APC shelved talks on the controversial zoning of the 10th National Assembly leadership at its emergency meeting on Monday. So there was a 2-hour closed-door meeting, as always, which took place at the party's headquarters. Was chaired by APC Deputy National Chairman North, Abubakar Kyari. As it is now, there's still no headway yet, or there's still no announcement or any headway yet as regards whether or not the APC will be making a decision anytime soon. But
this is the first test for Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president-elect. It's a big test. This is not Lagos. It's probably going to now understand that national politics can be a bit more complicated than what he was dealing with in Lagos. So it's the first test for him, really, because again, he has to get interested in what happens at the National Assembly as president-elect. Well, because again, you don't want to have a repeat of the 2015 Saraki era, So
as it is now, there's been a suspension as regards the talks, or they shelved the talks as the national chairman Adamu and the president-elect are both not back from their respective trips. They are both out of the country. So there's been no information really from that quarter. So we'll keep monitoring. More details on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. And that's all. Let's quickly move on now to Vanguard. This is Mainland 98.3 FM, and we are on Trends in the Papers. And on Vanguard newspaper, the major headline, Adamawa Guba crisis. At last, INEC declares Fintiri winner. And that is on page 5. We also have here, court nullifies Lagos Parks administrators, reinstates RTEAN. That is on page 10. 10th National Assembly, why South deserves Senate presidency. And that is coming from PANDEF. That's the Pan Niger Delta Elders Forum. And that's on page 8. of course, the arguments will keep going until the APC makes a final decision. We also have here Ararome. Lawyers, experts raise concern on NNPCL's stability as the court restores Ararime as NNPCL chairman. And what's also interesting from that report, Fahad, is the fact that all decisions that were made in his absence have been considered null and void.
So
that's interesting. So
again, we'll see whether it will be appealed.
Okay. So let's just leave that there. I'll just leave that at that. More details on page 12 of Vanguard newspaper. Whether or not there should be a cause for concern on the stability of NNPCL, we'll get to know in the days to come. Let's move on now. Still on the front page of Vanguard newspaper, we have here, my family conspired against me and voted Peter Obi. And that is coming from...
I was waiting for that story.
Yes, and that's coming from Dave Umahi, Ebonyi State Governor, who disclosed that his family conspired against him to vote for Peter Obi during the presidential election.
That is conspiracy. You have your choice. It's not democracy.
According to him, he never expected that Labour Party will win any election in Ebonyi State because of the structure that has been put in place, so that no other party...
When he narrows it down to family, is what I'm saying. When you say family, is it his immediate family or political family?
Well, that's what you're concerned with now.
When he said his family, I'm like, oh, maybe his wife, his children, maybe his cousins,
or his political family.
Associates, we probably regard as a family. That's what I'm trying to
So the word family now is ambiguous. So
for me, unless he breaks it down, say, oh, my wife didn't vote for me. Yeah. As if I was the one, I just filed for divorce straight. Yes, now.
All right.
If my wife does not vote for me in an election, but what is remaining? You don't finish with that now.
Well, he said he was also unaware that his family voted for Peter Obi. That's what he said. I don't know what just as now you have brought out some sort of curiosity. I'm also curious what exactly he means by his family. Is this political? Because he's saying that he never expected that the Labour Party will win any election in Ebonyi because there's a structure that they have put in place that no other political party can win even councillorship in the state. So
what kind of structure? If we are feeding everybody in Ebonyi State.
If we are putting context together now, I would say maybe he had expected that all of us agreed in the party. We have put some things in place in the
That's what I'm saying, the family thing
so
in the story.
That's what I'm saying. So if we're putting context in now, because I'm looking at it now, from this context now, if he said, oh, there's a structure that has been put in place that no other political party, meaning that our political party had put some things in place to ensure that we are the ones who win. So if we did not win, that means our political party is the one behind our travails. That's what I'm interpreting from this particular one. So maybe his political family, that's what he meant. But then he knows what he meant, but the story is on page 11. If someone can
I thought that the reporters would have questioned him more. I said, sorry, Mr. Governor, are you saying your wife did not vote for you, your cousins, your...
What? What?
Yes, I'm still at it.
It's okay. Why do you want to divorce somebody?
No, maybe the family thing is not...
Why is it paining you on behalf of David Mai?
When you say my family conspired, there are two key words in that headline and story. The conspiracy not to vote for him and his party, and then the family thing.
That's where I'm trying to put things in perspective now, because if we look at the context of which that statement came out from, saying that there's a structure that has been put in place that no other political party is supposed to win even councillorship. All right, so
it's not his immediate family, nuclear family.
That's my interpretation. If we're looking at the context of where he made that statement, yes.
I take your interpretation. I accept your interpretation.
Because I don't know. No matter how bad my father and my mother, or is at least let.
I just said that. I just told you if I contested an election and I saw that my wife didn't vote for me.
So he left that open to the interpretation of to our own interpretation. However,
if it's my son, for example, I don't pay the school fees again. Straight.
And that's all for trends in the papers on 98.3 Mainland FM. Unfortunately, we weren't able to go look through, the last paper, which is New Telegraph. All right, but then stay with us. We'll be back by 8:40 for Mainland Focus, where we'll pick one or two trending stories and open up the phone line for you to join in on the conversation. It's quite an interesting one. You do not want to miss it. We'll be right back. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Omobola Sandra.
This is Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Nobody wants to grow old with no money. No, no, no. Make your retirement a smooth journey. So be smart, save a little, step up. Step up. Always smile and live up. Whatever you dream, go with NLPC PFA.